Dr. Wayne Winegarden is our guest. He's with the Pacific Research Institute. New study they've done on the 50 state small business regulation index, talking about how wonderful Texas is. You live here, you already know about that, and those of our listeners who are listening at U.S. Daily Review and through social media, I keep telling you folks, you need to give a second look to the great state of Texas. There's a lot to be seen here. From an economic perspective. I noticed they're on the bottom, sadly, New Jersey and Chris Christie. And, I got to admit, Chris Christie strikes me as one of these guys that kind of gets it, but he's in such a politically hostile environment. Do you know anything about any initiatives that he has done to try to reduce the regulatory burden, or is he more talk than action?
I have to be honest, I don't know. Based on our study, though, certainly there's been no effective action, right? Because New Jersey is the second worst state next to California.
No. Yeah, it also is predominantly Democrat in both houses of the legislature. So that's a huge challenge.
It's an absolute huge challenge, and it's also a challenge based on where they've come from. So even if you start to make marginal improvements, you're so far behind many of the other states that you could be making improvements and still not gaining ground against your competitors.
Yeah, it's interesting. I found, first of all, one of the things that you can't help but notice is that, with rare exception, the top 10 states are predominantly Republican. And I'm not a GOP kind of guy. I'm really not. I'm very independent in the way I look at things, and get me rolling. This is like the happiest day I've had in years here, or this past week, or rather, the happiest I've had in years to learn that John Boehner was resigning from Congress, from Speaker of the House. I couldn't be happier. He offers no real alternative to the socialist policies of the Democrats, in my opinion. But it is interesting that the top states, with rare exception, Virginia, I think it definitely is Democrat. The bottom 10 states, with rare exception, is Democrat. Is that? Did you notice that as well? Is that part of your thought on that?
That wasn't what we were looking at. I did notice that, but again, we just set out objective criteria.
Right.
So, to the extent that the more top states are Republican-led, it just means that those Republican governors, either in the past or have made, like Mitch Daniels, made the changes themselves to bring the states into a better regulatory state. But no, we had no political criteria at all when we looked at it.
Oh no, I'm not saying you did. I'm not crying conspiracy here. I just happened to notice that it was an interesting trend. And you point out the fact that I think is apropos is that it took years to accumulate these environments. They didn't happen overnight. And so it almost doesn't matter who's currently in there. What would matter more is if there were years, maybe even decades, of the preponderance of one party or another, correct?
Correct to a point. The bottom-ranked states, one thing that I keep advocating in terms of reform, one of the most important reforms, none of the bottom-ranked states are right-to-work states.
Oh, yeah.
Texas, by the way, is a right-to-work state. And that one reform could make a huge difference for all of those bottom-ranked states, not only in terms of our ranking and moving up, but more importantly, in becoming attractive for new manufacturing facilities and new businesses to come and start thriving in that state. It's one of the most important regulatory reforms those states could do, and that would make a pretty significant impact pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the listener, essentially what right to work versus closed union shop states, is that there's a presumption in closed union shop states that those businesses above a certain size automatically have to unionize, essentially. And the coercion is so incredible, whereas in right to work states, it's purely voluntary. If there's a union in a closed union shop state, you have to join that union. Period. Right to work state, you don't have to do that. And as a result, these unions have to stay competitive and provide a reason for people to join the union in the right to work states. And it also makes sure that the financial burden is not too onerous on the business, correct?
So everything you did is 100% correct. And what's even more important, when you look at when companies are looking, where do I want to locate? Often when you have these relocation firms and they ask, well, what are the criteria? many companies will say, I do not want to open up a new facility if the state is not right to work.
Yeah.
So these bottom-ranked states, they're automatically taking themselves out of consideration. Why is Toyota and all of the Japanese manufacturers in Tennessee and Kentucky in that area not in Detroit?
Yeah. Although they might come back now, right? Detroit becoming a right-to-work state.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the most important reforms they could do. And that's why Michigan ranked pretty surprisingly well.
Yeah, Michigan is ranked 28 in your study. And I would venture to say, if you were to do this study 10 years ago, it would have been really close to California on that list. They've done Michigan. There's there's a lot of hyperbole out there, but Michigan is literally going through a renaissance, I think.
They are. You have a very vibrant biotechnology sector all around where, you have the University of Michigan and Ann Arbor, and all around there you get some very innovative new life science clusters that are forming. And a lot of that has to do with not just the resources that are there, but the policy environment's improving. Yeah. And that's very encouraging.
No question about it. It's been exciting to see the changes going on there. So, have you done these studies on a regular basis, or was this the first time? Talk a little bit about that.
The specific research we have in the past, periodically we'll go back and we'll look at the states in different ways. Just about a year ago, I worked with a colleague and we looked at energy costs. We wanted to rank the states based on their energy regulations, which is actually one of the criteria we used for this one as well. And in the past, we've looked at issues of economic freedom, and how states' different approaches to economic freedom leads to people choosing where to live. And again, we consistently find whenever we kind of go back and we're trying to look at how the states compare, those states that promote lower cost regulations, that promote economic freedom, are not only doing better, which is what this study is looking at. Small business growth is greater in those states that impose less regulations. But some of our past work has looked at, well, where do people want to choose? If where you decide to live is a very big kind of indication of, hey, I like this state. This state's working out well for me. I feel like I can provide for my family here. It's a place I want to live. And when we look at economic freedom, again, that becomes a very important variable in terms of people's decision on where to live.
Yeah, no question about it. I look at this, by the way, I think this is the kind of study that you should do at least every 5 years, like you calendar it in, that you revisit it, maybe even every year, because the legislature's changed dramatically, and you get someone very aggressive, like I think Mitch Daniels was during his time, which is one of the reasons why. I guarantee you, 10 years ago, Indiana was not in that top 5, probably not in the top 10. So it's amazing what can happen in a very, very short time frame. Really interesting figure, because you see now Michigan being ranked 28 out of 50, which is such a huge improvement, and how bad things used to be. It was ranked worse, the worst between 2002 through 2011 in annual small business payroll growth relative to U.S. average small business payroll growth. I mean, that's incredible. This should look dramatically different, I would think, in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I agree with you. Every couple of years, and sometimes when there's been lots of changes, you want to accelerate that timetable so we can keep apprised of what's happening and where these changes are happening, but also provide lessons. That if in 5 years, as Michigan's environment's getting better and we start seeing greater growth, that's, again, more evidence that we need to start collecting so we can understand truly how state regulations impact people's lives.
Yeah, Michigan, I believe, pretty much kept exactly the legislature and the governor. I know it kept the governor. I think it kept the legislature the same as well in the last election cycle. And so, the unions are going bonkers over what's happening in that state, but the people are kind of liking the idea of the possibility of having jobs back.
Well, and it's funny, you have the same dynamics happening in Indiana, where they're actually in Chicago. You have these signs that say, "Are you Illinois yet?" Again, so Indiana trying to showcase how much better their environment is by getting people in that high regulated, high tax state of Illinois to come over to Indiana.
Yeah, it's too bad people don't look at the states when they look at who they want governing the federal government. It's too bad because the states really do show models of, what works and what doesn't work. And, you've got this particular president who couldn't be more infatuated with unions, really more in the bed with unions, more so than any president in my lifetime, or at least since I've been involved in politics. That's probably not true. Probably, that's probably not completely true, but pretty darn close. And all of, and we hear all this about how much unions have grown in influence, but the reality is that's not the case where it matters in the states and in the businesses in those states. I'm seeing more and more of a shift towards right to work.
Well, and you've actually seen outside of the government sector, you've seen a precipitous decline in union membership, which is a good thing because the unions had become so anti-competitive and obstructions to not just the firms themselves, but the employees, that people realize there's no purpose for them. And the only place unions are thriving is in the government sector. And that's what's causing a lot of these public pension crises that we're facing, is that the unions have, in effect, said these unaffordable pensions have to be paid, even though they make absolutely no sense and they're completely unfair.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, listen, we're running out of time. It was a great conversation. Really glad we were able to spend some time with you, Dr. Wayne Winegarden. I noticed, by the way, that you went to George Mason University. That's where you got your PhD. Are you consider yourself an Austrian in your view as far as your economic philosophy?
I have some agreement with what Austrian economics is, yes, but broader than that.
You're probably more of a supply sider.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. Very good. And so enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. Do want to remind the listener that the best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com. I hope you have a great rest of your day and look forward to spending some time with you tomorrow right here on The Price of Business.